The three domains of duty for the seekers of the path. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Let our dear and esteemed friends bear in mind that when we contemplate the definitions of John, soul, ruh, spirit, batin, inner reality, nafs, self, and ghaib, the unseen, all of which are multiple names for a single meaning and reality, we come to understand that the very nature of the soul, the very nature of the spirit, is of the same substance as the unseen. It is not the case that the spirit and soul are a being residing within a city whose name is the world of the unseen. Rather, the substance of that world, called the world of the unseen, is of one and the same kind as the substance of the soul and spirit that dwell within it.
Therefore, the world of the spirit bears the name of repose, for it is there that the human being finds true tranquility. Now, every being that we perceive with the outward eye upon this earthly sphere, whether stones, plants, or animals, whether the fish of the sea or the bird of the sky, possesses a body with 6 dimensions. That is, 3 axes, each having 2 poles, length, breadth, and depth, each with its 2 extremities, yielding the 6 directions of front and back, right and left, above and below.
Another point to observe is this. When we say that the human spirit cast its dawn light across the horizon that is the body and physical form, we must first understand that the spirit has come upon this journey in order to gain in essence and attain perfection. The spirit, which possesses degrees of subtle celestial realities, latayif-i malakuti, shines forth from the depths of its own being, from its inward reality and its spiritual nature upon that horizon situated within the earthly world and constituting its body, in order to discover the subtle terrestrial and elemental realities, latayif-i moki, that is, the corporeal and earthly dimensions of existence. Thus, in order to sojourn for a time in this world, the spirit requires a dwelling. For this reason, that dawn radiance pours from within and takes up residence in the horizon of this bodily house, which is its nest. It does so in the following manner. Upon the roof of this house, which is the cells of the brain, it appoints a viceroy and representative from its own side and stations it there. The name of this viceroy is khayal, imagination. Imagination, therefore, is the viceroy and representative of the spirit within the realm of the body. Now, what we have intended to draw your attention to at this point in our discourse is this. The body is the lowest degree of the spirit in the order of existence. In the hierarchy of high and low, there do not exist 2 separate forces, one being the spirit and the other the body, one being light and the other darkness. Rather, all that exists is spirit,
and spirit, at the utmost degree of its density and heaviness, appears and manifests as the body. Therefore, the lowest and densest degree of the spirit is the body, just as darkness is the weakness of light, for when light grows faint, it manifests in the form of darkness. There are not, then, two opposing forces of light and darkness. Now, the spirit temporarily takes up residence in the nest of the body, which is the lowest degree of its spiritual being, arriving from its own world, from its homeland of the celestial realm, in order to absorb subtle realities and draw forth essences from the earthly world and the elemental body, so that it may return fulfilled to its spiritual homeland, the kingdom of God, bearing as gifts what it has discovered on this journey, and expanding the breadth of its spiritual being.
At this point, observe, imagination is of the same genus as the soul and spirit, yet it also has the capacity to enter the nest of the body. Therefore, the path of connection between the body and the spirit passes through imagination. The human being dwelling in the captivity of the body may find the way to the world of the spirit through imagination. It is therefore necessary to turn toward the purification of one's imagination. Now, with what shall we set ourselves in motion? What shall serve as our means of connection to the higher world? Imagination. Remembrance. But what must we do to remember him? We must speak his name. We must say his appellation. We must call out to him. Thus, in this teaching, we shall begin, first of all, with those acts of remembrance, adhkar, suited to the conditions of our lives. If the listener bears a social responsibility, that is, if he holds an occupation in society that requires him to attend to his professional duties at particular hours of the day and night, he is one who has a social engagement. There is a work, a responsibility related to society. This constitutes one domain. Another domain is that when he is free from his daily work, he may or may not have a family. He may or may not have a spouse. He may or may not have a child or children. For he must attend to the second domain, which is family responsibility. To spend time with his family, to attend to their affairs both outwardly and inwardly, to show them love and render them service. There then remains the third domain, an individual duty toward oneself, toward one's own person, toward one's own soul, toward one's own identity. Thus, having purified himself, having performed the ritual major ablution, ghusl, and the ritual minor ablution, wudu, he observes those conditions spoken of in the capital resources of spiritual wayfaring, suluk, and of contemplation, muraqabah, which will be addressed under the two renunciations that are to be heard. Now we wish to begin the practice of remembrance. Take note. Those who undertake contemplation in its intensive form, who, for instance, have withdrawn into caves or forests, far from society and inhabited places, and have seated themselves in contemplation upon mountains, plains, and open deserts, as is the case across various continents of the world, these lie outside the scope of our present discussion.
The mode of spiritual wayfaring we have in view is one in which the person, while engaged in inner wayfaring, enters the two domains of social and family life, plays an active role therein, serves as a resolver of difficulties, and proves beneficial and useful. And we hold that the fruit yielded by this mode of wayfaring is immeasurably more weighty, more powerful, more exalted, and more abundant than that form of wayfaring conducted within a cave or a forest, wherein the seeker cuts himself off from everything from the very outset and devotes himself solely to wayfaring. This contrasts with the Indian method of wayfaring, the Hindu path, wherein one must first leave the family, renounce one's occupation, perform the ritual bath, and tie the cloth of service. That is, to bathe as an act of repentance, then to gird oneself as a servant before truth and reality, and the master of the path, Piri Tarikat.
Therefore, that which must be regarded as authentic spiritual wayfaring, the kind that yields genuine result, and which the seekers of the path and wayfarers toward God must take as their model, is this. The wayfarer upon the path of truth and reality bears obligations in 3 domains. Those who do not yet possess these 3 domains must make every endeavor to attain them, so that they may be granted the felicity of fulfilling their duties therein. First, for sustenance and livelihood, the wayfarer must have an occupation at which he works for several hours each day. It is preferable that he acquire a craft, such as technical and industrial skills, carpentry, lathe work, ironsmithing, cooking, tailoring, and the like, choosing, in accordance with his natural inclination and enthusiasm, one of these skills, which are mentioned here merely as examples. Other trades may be added to this list.
He should learn a craft and engage in daily work through that learned skill. He must not yield to idleness, and must count idleness as forbidden to himself. Let no day and night pass without his going to work for several hours in the lawful earning of his livelihood, save on those days set aside as weekly rest, which in our land is Friday. His hand should be at work, and his heart with the beloved. Second, he should marry, choose a spouse, bring forth children, and establish a family. In both the occupational and the family domains, he should act with compassion, care, and conscientiousness, and let his intention be one of service.
Having fulfilled these 2 domains, he may then, in the 3rd domain, wherein he has a duty toward his own inner self, his spirit, and his soul, set aside a fixed hour within the day and night, enter into seclusion, and devote himself to the remembrance, Dhikr, and invocation of God. In the realm of remembrance, we must first understand that there are 2 types of remembrance, sutra and mantra. The mantra is the remembrance consisting of a single word, such as Allah or Om. Om, which is the supreme mystery, Siri Akbar, in the Hindu tradition and in Hindu mysticism, has as its equivalent in Islamic mysticism, Hu Allah, He is God. Thus, a mantra is a single word, mantra being a Sanskrit term meaning release, and it is used here to denote a single word employed as an act of remembrance. A sutra, by contrast, is a complete sentence, which is in essence a supplication, dua, such as the first portion of the noble 52nd verse of the blessed Surat Al-Naml, which says, أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ. That is, who is it that answers the one in desperate need when he calls upon him and removes the affliction and the harm? Or likewise, أنت المولى أنت الحق أنت الهادي أنت الرب ليس الهادي إلا هو. You are the master. You are the truth. You are the guide. You are the Lord. There is no guide but He. Which has been spoken in the track of oral remembrance, Dhikri Lisani, and whose meaning has been given. When you repeat a single word,
the magnetic effect it leaves within your being, upon the chain of nerves, upon the brain and psyche, and the effect it leaves upon the environment surrounding you, differs from the effect produced when you repeat an entire sentence. Undoubtedly, that single word leaves more powerful effects. However, before God, we do not distinguish the more powerful from the less powerful. We are all suppliants at his threshold. There is none more powerful than God.
يد الله فوق أيديهم.
The hand of God is above all hands. No hand can come forth to contend in a trial of strength with the hand of God. Here is the threshold of poverty and need.
Therefore, we turn to remembrance, to the loud remembrance, dhikri jali, to the verbal remembrance, dhikri zabani. Take note, in this first stage of remembrance, it is essential that wayfarers begin stage by stage, following the prescribed instructions from the very beginning and foundation, ascending each preliminary step and not regard any one of them as lesser, inferior, weak, or secondary in relation to a stage that seems higher or more powerful. Rather, they should turn to worship. Let them not approach remembrance with the notion that through contemplation they will become, say, a superhuman being. Such notions have no place whatsoever in spiritual wayfaring. If through the strength of spiritual intercessions, tawasulati ruhiya, and the repeated knocking upon the door of the unseen, the soul of God, may forces have come into being around the domain of the seeker's existence, and he has become a source of effects, he must still make his requests from the court of God and the world of the unseen through intercession.
Even that which he is himself capable of accomplishing through his own ability, he must not do through that ability, but rather come forward as though he has no capacity whatsoever, and make his request through supplication and intercession. In such a case, a mechanism comes into operation automatically, performing what he himself could have done had he wished, and this now comes to pass without his being the one performing it, for he is in the state of intercession, which, since it issues from the unseen and the truly real, possesses authenticity and primacy. In the track of remembrances, number 1, important matters have been spoken. Pay close attention. Gradually, we shall teach the heart-centered remembrance, dhikri kolbi, the figurative remembrance, dhikri tarsimi, and the silent remembrance,
zikri khafi.
May God's blessings be upon our Master Muhammad and upon the family of Muhammad, and may their return be hastened.